I'm going to install baseboard molding in my basement. Before doing this, make sure the perimeter and the floor is clean and clear of debris. Gather the molding in a convenient location. This is 4¼ inch standard baseboard that has been primed and painted. Each piece is 16 feet long. Then set up a cutting station. I'm using a compound miter saw to cut the pieces, and a ladder that has been rigged to help hold the long pieces. Begin by choosing a place to start. Measure the wall along the floor from end to end, making sure the tape measure is butted against the drywall. To get an accurate measurement on an open-end wall, use a board in this manner to find the length. Sometimes I record the measurements on each wall as I go around. These collected measurements can be used to cut each piece. However, I use a different method that works very well. Start by positioning a piece against the wall in this manner. Visualize how the mitered end will look, and make a temporary mark to show the direction of that angle. I call this an angle reminder mark. This way, I won't forget which way to cut when I bring it to the saw. With the blade at a 45-degree angle, make a cut on the marked end of this piece. Now position the piece back into place. On the other end, I use the wall as a straight edge and strike a mark on the back side. I then use my angle mark to remind me of the miter location and direction. Make the cut accordingly, then return the piece back to the wall so it can be nailed into place. There are a couple options when it comes to nailing trim. My favorite and most efficient tool is a nail gun loaded with 2-inch 16-gauge straight nails. This method is quick and can be done with one hand while holding the trim in place with the other. The other method is to use a hammer and a nail set tool. This traditional method is much slower and requires countersinking each nail with the nail set tool. Nail placement is also important. Nails placed at the bottom of the trim will be secured into the bottom plate of the wall. And nails placed in the top of the trim should be secured into the wall studs. I usually place my top nail on every other stud. A stud finder is a must when securing baseboard molding. Now, back to the first piece. Once the first piece is secure, continue on starting at one end. Take a piece of molding and place it in the general position. Visualize how the end will be mitered. Then strike an angle reminder mark on the end. Cut the end of this piece at a 45-degree angle and return it to the wall location for a perfect fit. While holding these mitered ends together, strike a mark on the back using the wall on the outside corner as a straight edge. Then visualize the location of the miter and make an angle reminder mark at the top. Cut this mark at a 45-degree angle and return to the wall. Return this piece to its proper position and nail into place. Now place your next piece of molding in the general position and visualize the miter for the outside corner. With a pencil, make the angle reminder mark on the top and then return to the saw for a 45-degree angle cut. Place the mitered ends together and mark the next cut. In this situation, it will need to meet up flush with the door trim. Make a mark at the door trim edge and return to the cutting station. Use a speed square to make a straight mark and cut at a 90-degree angle. Fit into place and double check for fit. If satisfied with the fit, secure into place. Be sure to glue all outside corners before nailing. Continue on around the perimeter using this method on the rest of the molding. You may have a situation where one end will meet up with an irregular surface, such as stonework on a hearth. Take a piece of paper that's cut to match the height of the molding and trace around the irregular surface using a pencil. Create a pattern by cutting along the traced line using a sharp pair of scissors. Next, trace this pattern on the end of the molding. Use a coping saw to make the custom cut along the traced line. Return to the wall and fit into place. Sometimes there's a gap between the floor and the molding. This can be due to uneven floors or a warped piece of molding. If the gap isn't too severe, you can use a piece of 2x4 to push the molding down while nailing it into place. I find this method to work well on long pieces as I secure from one end to the other. A scarf joint is the method of joining two pieces together. This usually occurs on long walls. To do this, make a 45-degree cut on the end of one piece in this manner. Then secure this piece into place. Measure the length of molding needed to complete the run. Then make an opposite 45-degree angle cut on the end of the adjoining piece. Fit this into place, overlapping the angled ends. Glue and hold the seam together while nailing into place. Here's a spot where I'll be installing a kitchenette in the future. Therefore, I will need to end my molding on each side. There are a couple methods that I can use. The first is called dead end molding. This is where you cap the end off using a small piece of molding, which creates a nicer finished end. The other method is to simply cut a 45-degree angle for a future scarf joint. Here's how to create the dead end for the nicer finish. Begin by cutting a desired length of molding. Note the direction of the cut angles. Since this is only temporary, I'm going to secure it with a single nail. Otherwise, you would secure it with more nails and glue the outside corner. Next, I will cut the dead end piece that will cap the end. Make a 45-degree cut on the end of a scrap piece, and then simply cut the angled segment off with the saw at a 90-degree angle. This is how it will fit together. Simply apply some wood glue and spread it out using your finger. Then install the piece for a nice finished end. Add pressure or hold together using painter's tape until the glue cures. Once the molding has been installed, begin touching up any gaps, holes, and imperfections. Start by using paintable, non-shrink caulking to fill any gaps in the corners. Run a small bead along the joint and smooth out using your finger. Next, fill the nail holes with spackle. Put a dab of spackle on each nail hole and wipe away the excess with your finger. You may also use your finger to apply the spackle. Note that this spackle goes on pink and turns white when it's dry. Once dry, you can sand using your finger and then touch up with paint.